The elevator doors had been closed for 18 minutes. Naomi knew because she had been watching the time on her phone, like it owed her something. She had a gala to run. 200 guests arrived in 40 minutes. A floral vendor who still had not confirmed the centerpiece delivery. And she was stuck. With him. She had not looked at him directly yet. She could feel him, though. The way you feel a fire in a room without looking at it. He was standing to her left, close enough that she could smell whatever he was wearing. Something warm and clean that had no business being that distracting. She stared at the elevator doors and told herself to focus. Then he spoke. "Do you do this often?" She turned, and that was her first mistake. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you emotional stories that stay with you. If you're new here, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you never miss a story. And if you're returning, thank you. Your support means everything. Now stay until the end, drop a comment with your thoughts, and let's begin. Naomi Hargrove had a rule about the 15 minutes before any event she coordinated. No phone calls, no conversations, just a quiet walk through the venue, eyes on everything, fixing what needed fixing before the guests ever noticed something was wrong. She called it her sweep. Her assistant called it her prayer walk. Either way, it worked. In 6 years of event coordination, she had never had a gala go sideways during her sweep. Tonight was supposed to be no different. The Whitmore Hotel in Buckhead was one of Atlanta's finest. Grand ceilings, marble floors, chandeliers that looked like frozen waterfalls. Naomi had coordinated 4 events here in the past 2 years and knew the building almost as well as the staff did. She knew which elevator was fastest, which corridor smelled like the kitchen if the ventilation was running wrong, which bathroom on the ballroom floor had a door that stuck. She knew things. What she did not know was that the hotel's fire safety system had been flagged for a routine check that afternoon, and that the technician, who was supposed to finish before 5, had not finished before 5. She found out about that at 6:42 p.m., when the elevator she stepped into on the 14th floor made a soft mechanical sound, shuddered once, and stopped. Naomi stood very still. She pressed the lobby button again. Nothing. She pressed the door open button. Nothing. She found the emergency call button, pressed it, and listened to it ring 4 times before a calm automated voice told her that her call had been received and that a technician would be with her shortly. Shortly. She had a gala starting in 43 minutes. She turned around in the small space to get her bearings and realized for the first time that she was not alone. He was standing in the back left corner of the elevator. Tall, dark suit, watching her with an expression that was not panic and was not amusing, but was somewhere between the two, calm in a way that felt practiced, like a man who had been in difficult rooms before and had learned not to show the difficulty on his face. She blinked. "I didn't see you get in." "I was already in," he said. "You got in on 14. She thought back. She had been on her phone when she stepped in, reading a text from her floral vendor. She had not looked up. "Right," she said. "So the—" He nodded once. Not dismissive. Just easy. Naomi turned back to the doors and pressed the emergency button again. Same automated voice. She exhaled through her nose and pulled up her contacts to call the hotel's event manager directly. The man behind her did not fidget, did not pull out his phone, did not sigh loudly or pace or do any of the things people did when they were trapped somewhere they did not want to be. He just stood there, still, quiet. It was a kind of stillness that made her more aware of herself somehow. The way a quiet room makes you notice how loud your own breathing is. "You work here?" he asked. "I coordinate events here." She was still looking at her phone, waiting for the call to connect. "I have one starting in 40 minutes. The Malone Foundation Gala." She looked up at that, turned to face him fully for the first time. He had hazel eyes. She had not expected that. Warm brown skin, a strong jaw, the kind of face that looked like it had been through something and came out on the other side with more depth than it started with. Mid-40s, she guessed. And he had just said the name of her event. "You know the event?" she asked. "I know it well." Something moved at the corner of his mouth. Not quite a smile. "It's my foundation." Naomi's brain did a quick shuffle. Malone Foundation. Annual charity auction. Raise money for college scholarships for kids from underserved Atlanta neighborhoods. She had read the brief 3 times and had spoken to Foundation's events director, a woman named Patricia, at least a dozen times in the past 2 months of planning. She had never spoken to the founder directly. She had not asked to. Patricia handled everything efficiently. There had been no reason. "You're Darius Malone," she said. "I am." She looked at him for a moment longer than she intended to. Then she looked back at her phone. The call connected, and she pressed it to her ear. "Marcus, it's Naomi. I'm stuck in elevator 4 on the 14th floor. I need someone to get the service team on this now. Please. I have a Gala floor check in 38 minutes. She listened, nodded. "Good. Thank you." She hung up. "They're working on it," she said, more to herself than to him. "I heard." He had shifted slightly, leaning one shoulder against the back wall of the elevator. Relaxed, like this was mildly inconvenient at most. "You're not panicking. Panicking doesn't fix elevators." This time he smiled. It was a slow thing, the kind that started somewhere behind the eyes before it reached the mouth. "No," he said, "it doesn't." Naomi turned back to the doors and ran through her mental checklist. The centerpieces would be handled by her assistant Deshawn, who was already downstairs. The sound check had been completed at 5. The catering team had confirmed at 6. The silent auction tables were set. The only thing missing was her. Doing her sweep, and if the elevator opened in the next 20 minutes, she could still do a shortened version and be at the entrance before the first guest arrived. She could manage this. "How long have you been coordinating events?" he asked. She glanced back at him. He was just talking. Not flirting, not filling silence awkwardly, just talking the way people did when they were stuck somewhere together and had decided to make it human instead of strange. 6 years, she said. "You like it?" She thought about that for a second. Most people did not ask if she liked it. They asked how much it cost or how many people she could accommodate. "Yeah," she said. "I do. I like taking something chaotic and making it feel effortless, like nothing hard happened." He was quiet for a moment. "That's a skill," he said. "Most people can't hide the hard." She did not know what to do with that, so she said nothing. The elevator hummed, shifted, did not move. Naomi checked her phone. 18 minutes since it stopped. She looked at the ceiling of the elevator the way people do when they are looking for patience in the air above them. "Tell me about the event," he said. She looked at him again. "You planned it." "Patricia planned it. With you, apparently. I want to know what you think of it." That was an unusual thing for a client to say. Most clients wanted you to know the plan, execute the plan, and not add opinions. She studied him for a moment, trying to figure out what he actually wanted, and all she got back was an open, direct look, like he was genuinely asking. "The room is going to be beautiful," she said. "The auction layout is designed so guests move through it naturally without feeling herded. The live band is good. I heard their last set. The food presentation is clean, and there's enough variety that nobody goes hungry regardless of preference." She paused. "The program runs a little long in the middle. The speeches before the main auction. I flagged it with Patricia, but she said the board wanted the time." "How long?" 14 minutes, over what keeps an audience warm." He tilted his head slightly. "I'll cut 2 of the speeches." "You can do that?" "It's my foundation." She almost smiled. "Fair enough." The elevator moved, just slightly, a small lurch downward, and then it caught itself and stopped again. Naomi grabbed the railing on the wall by instinct. Her heart did the thing hearts do when the floor moves unexpectedly, a fast, hard knock against her ribs. She let go of the railing, steadied herself. When she turned around, he was closer than he had been. Not alarmingly so, but closer. He had moved off the wall, and his eyes were on her face, checking something. "You okay?" he asked. "Fine." Her voice came out even. She was grateful for that. "You sure?" "I don't love small spaces," she said. It came out before she had decided to say it. She pressed her lips together briefly. He did not say anything for a moment. He just looked at her with that steady, unhurried attention that she was starting to realize was just how he existed in a room. Then he said, "Tell me something that has nothing to do with this elevator." She blinked. "What?" Something else. Anything. Where did you grow up? She looked at him for a moment. Then she said, Decatur. Yeah, me too. What part? Near the old Avondale area. Something shifted in his face. Not surprise exactly. More like recognition. I grew up off Memorial Drive, he said. She knew that neighborhood. Knew what it used to be. Knew what it cost to come from there. And end up here in a Buckhead hotel with your name on the foundation hosting the gala. She did not say any of that, but she thought it. Small world, she said. Smaller than people think. They talked, not about the event, not about business, about Decatur, about the way Atlanta had changed, and the parts that had stayed exactly the same. He asked about her family, and she told him her grandmother still made Sunday dinner every week, fried chicken and baked mac and cheese, and collard greens that had been simmering since that morning, and that missing felt like a small wrong that accumulated over time. He laughed at that. A real laugh, low and warm. She asked him about the foundation, and he told her about the scholarship program, about the first kid they funded 7 years ago, a girl from Vine City, who was now in her second year of medical school in Nashville. The way he talked about it was not the way donors talked about their giving, performative and self-congratulating. It was quieter than that, like it mattered in a way he did not need anyone confirm. She noticed that. 26 minutes after it stopped, the elevator moved again. This time it moved for real, a smooth descent, and the doors opened on the lobby level with a soft chime. Naomi stepped out. The hotel's facilities manager was standing there with an apology already forming on his face. She held up one hand to stop it. It's handled, she said. I need 10 minutes with my team, and then I need to do a walk through the ballroom. She turned back to say something professional and closing to Darius Malone, something appropriate for a vendor addressing client. Thank you for your patience. I'll see you inside. Something like that. He was looking at her with that same steady expression. The lobby light was different from the elevator, warmer, and it did something to his face that the elevator's light had not. Thank you, she said, for the distraction. Naomi. He said her name like he had known it longer than 26 minutes. The event is going to be exactly what it should be. She did not ask how he knew that. She nodded once and walked toward the ballroom. She told herself the warmth in her chest was just relief that the elevator had finally opened. She almost believed it. The gala was everything she had promised it would be. The room looked like something from a dream, all warm gold light and white florals and the kind of quiet elegance that made people feel important just by being inside it. The band played the right songs at the right volume. The auction moved beautifully. The 2 speeches Darius had cut were not missed by anyone. Naomi stayed at the edge of it all, the way she always did, watching, adjusting, invisible by design. This was a part of her job she had never fully explained to anyone who asked. The art was not in being seen. The art was in making sure everyone else was. She was standing near the back corridor entrance, checking a note from Deshawn on her phone, when she felt it, the specific sensation of being watched, not the ambient attention of a crowded room, something more deliberate than that. She looked up. Darius Malone was across the ballroom, standing near the edge of the dance floor, and he was looking directly at her. He did not look away when she caught him. He held her gaze for a moment, then tilted his head slightly toward the dance floor. An invitation so subtle it could have been nothing. She looked back down at her phone. Her assistant could handle the rest of the night. She knew that. The event was running itself at this point. She had done her job. She stayed at her post for another 4 minutes, which was long enough to feel like a decision and not a reaction. Then she crossed the ballroom. The band had moved into something slow, something that required no particular skill to move to, just proximity and willingness. She stopped a few feet from him, close enough to talk without raising her voice over the music. Your event is a success, she said. Our event, he said. She let that go. The auction total is going to exceed last year's number by about 30%. I know. Patricia texted me. He looked at her for a moment. Then he said quietly under the music, close enough that it was only for her, You're mine. The words landed differently than they should have. She had been expecting small talk, professional warmth, Maybe even a compliment about the event coordination that she could file away and reference in a proposal later. Not that. Her chest did something complicated. She kept her face level. I am sorry. This night, he said. Everything that happened tonight. The elevator. The conversation. This. He looked around the room and then back at her. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in paying attention. And I have been paying attention to you since the moment you stepped into that elevator and didn't flinch. She did not have an answer for that. Her pulse was doing something she was going to need to have a conversation with herself about later. I'm your event coordinator, she said. Tonight you are. His hazel eyes were steady on hers. I'd like to discuss what you are after tonight. The band played. The room sparkled around them. Naomi Hargrove, who had spent 3 years being very careful, felt something she had packed away a long time ago begin very slowly to stir. She did not say yes. She did not say no. She said, the peach cobbler station is about to run out. You should probably go say something gracious to your guests while I go handle it. He smiled, that slow, deep smile that started behind the eyes. I'll find you before the night is over, he said. She walked away. Her hands were completely steady. She was proud of that. Her heart was another matter entirely. If you're feeling this story, hype it so others can find it. Comment where you're watching from. Now back to the story. Part 2. Naomi did not find him before the night was over. He found her. She was in the back corridor near the catering station at 10:47 p.m., shoes still on, because she never took them off until the last guest left, going through her post-event checklist on her tablet. The ballroom was winding down. The band had played their last song. The stragglers were finishing their drinks and having the kinds of conversations people have when they do not want a good night to end. She heard him before she saw him. Not his voice, his footsteps. She had already learned the particular weight of how he moved, unhurried, deliberate, like a man who had decided where he was going and saw no reason to rush getting there. She kept her eyes on her tablet. You're still working, he said. The event isn't over until the last vendor clears out. It's almost 11. I know what time it is. He stopped beside her, close enough that she could smell that warm, clean scent again. She had been hoping that was an elevator thing, something contained and temporary. It was not an elevator thing. Have you eaten? He asked. She opened her mouth to say yes, and then remembered that she had not. She had tasted the food during the pre-event check at 5 and had not stopped since. Her stomach confirmed this immediately and with no subtlety at all. I'll eat when I get home, she said. That's not what I asked. She looked up at him. He was watching her with that expression. She was starting to catalog, patient, direct, like he had already decided to wait her out and was comfortable doing it. Mr. Malone. Darius. She paused. Darius. I appreciate the evening. The event went well. Your foundation is going to have a very good morning when the final auction numbers come in. She looked back at her tablet. I don't mix professional and personal. That's a good rule, he said. She waited for the but. It did not come. He just stood there agreeing with her like that was the end of it. She glanced at him sideways. That's it. You have a rule. I respect it. He tilted his head slightly. I'd like to be considered for whatever comes after professional. Naomi looked at him for a long moment. The corridor was quiet. The distant sound of the ballroom cleanup filtered through, glasses clinking, the low conversation of the catering team. The chandeliers in the main room threw just enough warm light into the hallway to make everything feel softer than it probably was. You don't know me, she said. I know you grew up in Decatur. I know your grandmother makes collard greens that have been cooking since morning, and that missing Sunday dinner feels like a debt that builds up. I know you don't panic when the floor moves. I know you noticed the speeches were too long before anyone told you to notice. He paused. I know you walked across that ballroom tonight and pretended it was professional. Her jaw tightened slightly. Not enough for most people to catch. He caught it. It was professional, she said. Naomi. Just her name. Said the same way he had said it in the lobby, like it was something he had decided to handle carefully. She exhaled, looked at her tablet, looked back at him. I just ended a situationship 8 months ago that I should have ended 18 months ago. I am not looking for anything. I'm not asking you to look, he said. I'm asking you to have dinner with me. One dinner. Next Saturday. Somewhere in the city that has nothing to do with an event you're coordinating. She should have said no. She had said no to easier asks than this without any difficulty at all. She was good at no. No was clean, and no did not complicate things, and no let her go home and eat leftover rice and watch something on television without her chest doing whatever it was currently doing. One dinner, she said. Something in his face settled. Not triumph. Quieter than that, like relief that had been disciplined into stillness. One dinner, he said. Her phone buzzed. Deshawn. She looked at the screen. The last vendor was loading out. She needed to do her final walk. I have to go, she said. I know. He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and held out a card. Simple. Just his name and a number. No title. No foundation name. No list of credentials. Just Darius and 10 digits. When you're ready. She took it. She did her final walk. She checked every table, every corner, every surface. She thanked the catering team by name. She confirmed the florals pickup for the morning. She did everything she always did. She did all with the card in her jacket pocket pressing lightly against her ribs. On the drive home, she turned on the radio, and SZA was playing, and she turned off again because she did not need any help feeling things tonight. She called her best friend Camille from the parking garage of her apartment building. Camille answered on the second ring, which meant she had been awake, which meant she had probably been waiting for a recap. How'd it go? Camille asked. The event was perfect. I didn't ask about the event. Naomi sat in her car with the engine off. How do you even know there's something else? Because you call me from your car instead of your couch. You only call from the car when you need a process before you go inside. A pause. Spill? Naomi told her. The elevator. The conversation. The slow song. What he said. The card. Camille was quiet for 3 full seconds, which was the longest Camille had ever been quiet in the entirety of their 15-year friendship. Naomi Hargrove, she said finally, don't. He said you're mine on the first night. He said it about the evening. The experience. Not me specifically. Baby, honey, my dear, sweet, emotionally unavailable friend. Camille's voice was warm and deeply amused. He meant you specifically. Naomi looked at the parking garage ceiling. I told him I don't mix professional and personal. And he said one dinner. And you said yes. I said one dinner. That's yes. Naomi rubbed her face with her free hand. I don't know anything about this man, except that he grew up off Memorial Drive, and he runs a scholarship foundation, and he has the kind of stillness that makes you feel like you're moving too fast. That last part, Camille said. Say that last part again. Don't make a thing. It's already a thing. A pause. When's dinner? Saturday. Camille made a sound that was not quite a scream, but was adjacent to one. I'm coming over tomorrow so we can figure out what you're wearing. Camille. Good night, Naomi. Get some sleep. You have a very important week of pretending you're not excited to get through. The call ended. Naomi sat in her car in the quiet parking garage for another few minutes. She thought about the elevator, the way he had said her name, the way the ballroom looked from the back when everything was going exactly right, and she was the only one who knew how much work was underneath it. She thought about the last time she had let herself want something that wasn't work-related. How long ago that was. How carefully she had packed that part of herself away after Marcus left. Marcus, who had been charming and certain right up until he wasn't, who had said all the right things until the things he did made the words meaningless. She had been careful since then, carefully herself, carefully alone. She got out of the car and went inside. She did not take the card out of her pocket until she was standing at her kitchen counter. She set it down and looked at it for a moment under the kitchen light. Just his name and a number. No performance. No credentials. Like he did not need to convince her of anything. Like he was simply making himself available and trusting her to decide. She put it on the counter next to her keys. By Wednesday, she had picked it up and set it back down 4 times. On Thursday morning, standing at her kitchen counter with coffee she had not yet tasted, she typed the number into her phone and saved it. She did not send a message. She just saved it. That felt like enough for a Thursday. Friday, she got a text from a number she did not recognize. It said only tomorrow, 7. I'll send the details this afternoon. If anything changes, let me know. She stared at it. Then she typed back, how did you get this number? His reply came in under a minute. Patricia has your contact information on file. I asked her for it this morning. If that's overstepping, tell me and I'll wait for you to reach out. She read that twice. The ask for permission at the end of it. The acknowledgement that he might have moved wrong. She typed, it's fine. 7 works. She set her phone face down on her desk and went back to her client emails. She was smiling, just slightly, just enough. She was not going to tell Camille about the smile. Camille would absolutely find out about the smile. Saturday arrived the way anticipated things always do, faster than expected and heavier with significance than seemed reasonable for a single evening. Naomi stood in her bedroom at 5:30, looking at the 2 options Camille had pulled from her closet the day before. The deep rust wrap dress or the black one that was simple and reliable and asked nothing of anyone. She wore the rust. The restaurant he chose was in Midtown. Not flashy. Not the kind of place designed to impress with its price point. It was warm and unhurried with good lighting and table space far enough apart that a conversation stayed a conversation. She noticed all of that before she sat down. He was already there when she arrived, standing near the host stand. Not seated, like he had made a decision not to be the person she walked up to at a table. He saw her come in, and something moved across his face that he did not fully contain. His eyes went from her face to her dress and back to her face, and he said, "You look beautiful," like it was simply true, and he saw no reason not to say it. She said, "Thank you," and meant it simply back. They sat, they ordered, and then they talked for 3.5 hours in the way that people do when something has been building since an elevator on a Tuesday, and the pressure of it finally has somewhere to go. He told her about building the foundation, how it started because of his own story. A guidance counselor at his high school who saw something in him when he did not see it in himself and pushed him toward a scholarship that changed everything. How he had promised himself at 22 that if he ever had anything, he would make sure that moment existed for somebody else. She told him about the broken engagement. Not all of it. Enough. The way she had reorganized her life around someone, and then had to quietly rebuild it when that someone decided they did not want to be stayed for. How she had become very competent and very self-sufficient, and how those were good things that had also become, without her fully meaning them to, a way of making sure nothing could get close enough to rearrange her again. He listened in a way that made her feel heard rather than assessed. Over dessert, a sweet potato bread pudding they were sharing because she had mentioned sweet potato, anything was her weakness. He said, "Can I ask you something?" "You've been asking me things all night," she said. "This one is different." He looked at her across the table. "What would it take for you to stop waiting for this to go wrong?" Her fork paused. "I'm not," she started. "You are," he said, gently, no accusation in it. "Every time something lands well tonight, I can see you checking it, like you're looking for the part that doesn't hold." Her chest felt tight in a way that was not uncomfortable exactly, but was close enough to uncomfortable to require attention. She set her fork down. "I don't know yet," she said honestly. He nodded, like that was enough, like he had not expected a different answer, and was not disappointed by the one she gave. "Then I'll be patient," he said. "I'm good at patience." She believed him. That was the part that scared her and settled her at the same time. He walked to her car after. The Atlanta night was warm, the kind of warm that feels like the city exhaling after holding its breath all day. They stood on the sidewalk outside the restaurant, and she knew the evening was ending and felt a particular awareness of that, the way good things feel slightly bittersweet at their edges. "I had a good time," she said. "So did I." He looked at her for a moment. Then he said, "I'd like to do this again." "One dinner," she reminded him, "was..." He tilted his head. "What's your ruling on 2?" She looked at him, at his hazel eyes and steady face, and the way he was standing there not pushing, not performing, just being genuinely and completely himself on a sidewalk in Midtown Atlanta, and somehow that was more disarming than anything else he could have done. "I'll think about it," she said. He smiled. "That's enough." She drove home. The radio stayed off again. But this time it was not because she was trying to keep feelings out. It was because she did not need any help. She already had more than enough to sit with, and for the first time in a long time, that did not feel like a warning. It felt like a beginning. What would you rate this story? Drop 0 to 10 in the comments right now. If this story moved you, hit subscribe for more emotional journeys every day. And if it truly touched your heart, consider leaving a super thanks. Your support helps us create more stories like this. Every contribution, big or small, means the world. Ready for the next story? It's even more dramatic than this one. Click now. Thank you for being part of this journey.